happy Thursday. It is Sharla Kornegay coming live to you with another Forever Friends Academy episode. Hello, how's everyone doing? I haven't been on for a while, so I'm happy to be on here with you guys. And let me introduce myself just in case there's someone who is new to the podcast tonight. My name is Sharla Kornegay. I'm an author, recording artist, creator of Interact Coaching and Forever Friends Academy, where I do group relationship coaching. Hopefully, what you will find here is basically I want to help people build relationships that last a lifetime. We talk about all relationship topics, and I introduce fundamental principles that you can help, hopefully, will help you to be the foundation of your relationship and anchor your relationship in so that you guys can weather through the storms of life because they do come. And I see Maya. Hey, Maya, how are you? You at the tippity top. I was just introducing myself. That's about it. If you want to check out my music, you can find my music on all platforms. When I'm on the stage, I go by Sharla K. That's Sharla with an S, not a C, because most people spell Sharla with a C. But, my mom had to be different. And it's with an S. So check it out, Sharla K. Hopefully you'll find something that you like there. And I'm excited about working on getting some new music to you guys. So I have it in my mind, like I have to get you guys not just new music, but a whole album before this year is out. So that's what I'm working on. So anyway, enough about me. I am happy to be back on here with you guys. I had the most amazing vacation. That's why I wasn't on for the last about a week and a half. And I went to Santorini, Greece. That was my bucket list, the place for me. And my husband was nice enough to surprise me and say, you know what, we celebrated our 20th anniversary. And he was like, let's go to Greece. And I was like, yeah, oh my God. So I went there, had a great time. I think I'm still there. I'm gonna be very honest with you guys. I'm still in Greece. I'm physically here, but my heart and everything else is still in Greece. So, but I'm happy to be back on here with you guys tonight. And the topic that I'm going to keep it short because I think, as I said, I'm still on vacation, I think, mode. So I'm not going to keep you guys too long. And the topic that I have to talk about you guys tonight was inspired by my vacation. So I'm going to start, at the top of this episode with a quote that I found. And you guys know the drill. For those of you who have been on with me before, I'm going to state the quote and then you let me know if you agree with it or if you disagree. Do you think if you do agree with it, do you think there's some, a truthful principle in it? And do you think that it has, a gem or gems in it that you can apply to your relationship? So let me state the quote for you guys so you can give me some feedback, like Janet Jackson says, right? The quote, I don't know where I saw it. It did not have the name of the person who came up with it, which I don't like that because I like to give people their flowers. So I apologize. I don't know who came up with this. I know some quotes are anonymous, but usually when I see them, it does say anonymous, but this didn't say anything. So I'm going to state the quote. I don't know who to give kudos for the structure of it, but nonetheless, it goes like this. You don't improve your life by doing more. You improve your life by doing less of what doesn't matter. All right, so I'll state it again so you guys can hear it and process it. The quote for tonight is, you don't improve your life by doing more. You improve your life by doing less of what doesn't matter. So that's the quote for tonight, folks. And the question that I thought of to go along with that quote is, how am I going to state this question? Okay, I'm going to state it like this. Tell me something that you have or you made the choice or decision to do less of that you felt like it improved a certain area of your life. If you've had an experience or a process like that. So again, the quote for tonight, and oh my goodness, we fear Jesus. I love your name, first of all. Okay, let's talk about that. And I think it's your first time on the show. So if it is, welcome, and I hope you enjoy it. So again, just to restate, tonight's quote is: "You don't improve your life by doing more. You improve your life by doing less of what doesn't matter." Do you think that statement is true? Do you disagree? If you do feel it is true, do you think it's something that can be very applicable to relationships, to creating healthy relationships? And the question that I have for you guys tonight is, tell me something. Tell me, maybe if you came to a crossroads and you saw that there were certain things that you were doing, you assessed your life, your daily, I don't know, activities. What is something in your life that you decided to do less of, and you found that it improved the quality of your life, or maybe productivity of your life, etc., something like that? So that is the quote, and that is the question for tonight. So let me know what your thoughts are. And while I'm waiting for you guys to hopefully give me some feedback on it, let me give you some context in regards to why I thought of this. As I stated before, I went to Santorini, Greece, which was my bucket list place, right? And if anybody's on here, this is just outside of it, just because I'm being nosy and I'm curious. Do you have anybody on here? What is your bucket list place? You know, and I don't know how to rename it. I really don't want to say bucket list. I think, right? Because bucket list is supposed to be like the place that you want to go to before you like croak or something like that. So how can I restate that so it doesn't sound like, just the place that you want to go, the place that you feel like, okay, I really would like to visit this place, experience the culture, etc. Definitely let me know if you have one of those. So, nonetheless, Santorini, Greece was mine until I just recently came back from there, and I don't really know why it became this like place that I wanted to go to. Other than, of course, when I saw the pictures, it just looked like such a beautiful place. Like a very through the pictures, I felt like it just ruminated like just peace and just I guess maybe all the white against the blue sky, and then they have like the blue domes there. I don't know. I just was very drawn to it, like for a very long time. So it just became like, okay, if I get a chance to go there, I'm gonna go there. Now, when I went there, definitely the culture is really interesting. Like the people that we met there, one of the things that stood out to me was how even because we went to Athens and then we flew to Santorini, the island, and even in the city atmosphere, the people were so laid back, and one of the areas that I really saw that it was like evidence that they were just kind of like go with the flow type of people is that every time we would go somewhere to eat, and like I said, it didn't matter whether it was the city or the island. I remember they would give, the waiter would come and they would take our order and they would give us our food, and then that was it. Like you did not see that waiter for like your whole entire meal. And I just remember saying to Ben, I was like, this is so interesting. Like in the United States, I'm used to like, the waitress or the waiter coming in and saying, how's it going? Is your food good? And things like that. And I think they do this for two reasons. One, if you've ever were a waiter or a waitress and you're working, you do that so you can get a good tip, of course, but also, the turnaround, the table turnaround, right? They want people to enjoy themselves and enjoy the food, but they also want to turn the table around so that they can get more people to sit down and eat, because of course that's going to dictate how much money they make in that night. But when we went to Greece, they just, it was like they gave us the food. Enjoy your food. It's almost like they forgot about us. I think by the time we got to the island, we ate and the waiter never came. He never came back to our table. And I think at one point Ben and I was like, wait a minute, did he give us the food for free? like like are we, do we not have to pay? Because I'm talking about like it must probably about like a good, it was going on an hour that had passed. And we had told him like, Ben had given him, the little hand, like, yeah, we're ready to pay. He took the plates and everything. And so to the point that we had to remind him, like, we didn't pay. We're ready. We're ready to go. And when he came over, he was just like, "Oh, what can I do for you, man?" And we're like, "Well, we didn't pay for our food." And he's like, "Oh, okay. Let you pay." So I just thought it was so just interesting how like laid back, definitely stress free. Like all of the people that we talked to when we were there, very much stressed, and that's I don't mean that as a like well I'm using the word stress to to describe how much they talked about and how they focused on living a stress-free life. And I just thought that was such a just a stark difference from living in the United States. And that's one of the things that I really, really enjoyed. And another reason why I presented the quote for you guys tonight about, improving your life is not about doing more, but it is about doing less of what, doesn't matter, is another thing that stood out to me is the food is amazing there. I don't know if you ever speak to someone, I know before I went to Greece, when I would talk to people who went to Greece and explored Santorini or even Athens in the city, they would always rave about how great and how delicious the food is, like no matter where you go. And I will definitely have to confirm that that is true. And one of the things that stood out to me was that they use very minimal ingredients in their food, but the seasons that they use and or the herbs and things like that are so rich. So you would, you know, bite certain things in the food and it would have so much flavor, but you can tell that it wasn't all of these ingredients that were added into. It was like the simplicity added to the richness of the food. So that's also, just to give a little context as to why I presented the quote that I presented to you guys tonight, because those are some things that really, really stood out to me. So, hey, Anu Bennett, how are you? Thank you for coming to the show. Feel free to join the conversation. Anybody who doesn't want to type, let me put the code because you guys can, I'm always happy that you guys can come on with me. And I have the QRC code that you can scan if you don't feel like typing. You can, scan the QRC code and then come up, come on and talk with me I would say face to face, but it's really screen to screen. Right? But hey, and let me I realize on Instagram, you guys aren't going to see the barcode that way. So let me get the screen that has the separate barcode that you can scan. If you are on Instagram, you can go to my page and the barcode it's pinned at the top. So if you have any difficulties, and if you're on Facebook, it's also pinned to the top of my page if you want to scan it that way. But I will show it here so that you guys can scan it because I would love to talk to you screen to screen. Okay. So just scan that QR code and then we can, we can talk about it if you don't feel like typing. So I'm putting that up for you guys and then come back. And I think I see someone has typed something. So let me go back to you guys. All right, so I've got an answer. Thank you, Maya, for typing. I appreciate you. She says, as a culture, we be glorifying in busyness. Meanwhile, busyness is killing. Cast out. Cast out cortisol today. She's hilarious. I love she makes me laugh all the time. Like it's guaranteed I'm gonna laugh if I'm talking to her. So yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I agree with you. So clearly, you agree with the quote for tonight. And I loved it because before I went on vacation, we were talking about mental health, and I literally was just on yesterday with my group coaching that's with my Forever Friends Academy participants, and we started talking about mental health there too. And I one of the principles that I shared when I was on here was one of the ways to nurture an environment and cultivate an environment of mental health in a relationship is prioritization, right? And I think prioritization ties into this quote because I think when you prioritize certain things in life that are essential and that are necessary, and you put in order what things need to be handled first, that is, I think, also the process of realizing the things in your life that you want to do less of, right? That it doesn't matter that it might not be serving you. I remember hearing a quote. I don't know if I read it in an article or if I heard it, but it always stuck with me. And it was a quote that I believe Beyonce, she was in some kind of interview, and she was saying that as she has gotten older and as she was growing in her artistry, she basically noted what things that didn't serve her. And if it didn't serve her, she would just immediately eliminate it. And I thought that always stood out to me. Like I always hear that in the background of my mind, maybe not the background, probably the middle ground of my mind, when specifically when I'm in a creative process, because I think that was just really like brilliant, but also ties into what we're talking about tonight, right? So let me know definitely if there is a point or a moment where you felt like there's something that you went through that process, right? Where you're like, okay, I need to do less of this, and it's going to, or it did help you either in productivity, in progress, just your mental health and your sanity and your peace, anything like that. But I definitely agree. I'm a wholeheartedly 1,000% agree with Maya on that. And I could see it because even when I was on my vacation, I remember when we entered into Athens and Ben and I, we can, we we're both risk takers, like just naturally is in our DNA, literally, because we did the whole DNA kit, and you know how they tell you like certain I guess, things that are within your genetics and things like it's amazing all the things that they can find out, like whether you're got the sprinter gene and all kind of things like that. But one of the things that we both found out is that we're both high percentage risk takers, which once we both found that out, I mean, we could kind of look at how we tend to live our life to know that without them telling us. And I say that to say because when we right, I had planned everything out, right? Like we planned everything out. Well, I can't say everything. Let me recant that. Most of everything out, right? Like we planned what hotel we were going to stay at when we went to Santorini, the flights and everything. All that was booked. And I remember telling Ben because he's really good at picking hotels. And I said, you pick the one for Athens, in the city. And, we both were kind of going along. And, every now and then I'd be like, yeah, did you book that hotel? And he's like, yeah, we're going to sit down tonight and look at it. Nonetheless, right? This is how much of risk takers we are. We waited until, until we landed in Athens to say, okay, yeah, we're going to book the hotel, that day. And I mean, it didn't really feel like a risk to us because we've taken a lot more greater risks. But I think, I was joking with him like thank God I'm like an easygoing person, because some people who are not like that, which, everybody's different. Some people need to have everything planned out, all in detail, or it will drive them crazy. But I'm pretty easygoing, so I was like, yeah, we're gonna book the hotel when we get there. And sometimes I realize I guess maybe God's grace and mercy, right? Or God's favor. It sometimes when you're willing to take certain risk like that, you end up like winning really big, right? And in that case, we did. We booked a hotel that morning, and the type of hotel that we were able to book. One, I think because we were in Greece, so the prices were a lot more cheaper. And the hotel that we got, we ended up getting the room that was on, the highest floor, right? Top floor. And it was a corner room. So it ended up being like an apartment suite with a great big balcony. I mean, this balcony, you could basically probably have a private small wedding on it. That's how big it was. And so me and Ben are looking like, oh my God, like how did this, how did this work out like this? You know, um, right? How did it work out so good? Like it ended up better than if we had planned it out, ahead of time. And I was saying to him that when we got there in Athens, because we booked it in the morning, when we went to try to kind of go to the apartment suites, our room wasn't ready, right? And they were kind enough to let us put our bags, they said you can, hold your bags here and then maybe you can go eat something, explore, and then come back in time. But it was like very early in the morning because our flight landed really, really early, like 6 something in the morning, and our room wasn't going to be ready until about like 2, 3 o'clock. And so we were like, okay, we're going to just kind of hit the ground running. We went to see some of the major sites, that people tend to visit when they go, like the Acropolis and the Parthenon and, all those like historical structures and things like that and temples. And so we were hit the ground running, right? We went, visited some of those things and went back to our room. And in Athens, we only spent 2 days, but we did so much. So by the time we got to Santorini, we were like, we're tired. We're tired. But you know how like you're on a vacation, so you want to explore the place, and you feel like if you're in the room, I don't know, maybe not everybody's like that. Some people, they know how to really relax. Like we're in the room, let's just let's just chill, right? And I just remember both of us like, okay, no, but we just want to relax. And the room that we had was, oh my God, chef's kiss. It was like the highest point on the Caldera Cliff, and it was just looking over the Aegean Sea, and it was absolutely beautiful. And I think it was the part of, at least for me, was like, you can just relax. Like, it's fine. You can just sit here in this room and pretty much do nothing and just look out on this beautiful sight. And I could feel the parts of me, you know, I guess unwinding or just shedding some of the things that, Maya's talking about in our life, that is just like do, go, 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 instead of just like, taking it in and relaxing. And like I said, the people there, they just seem to swim in it, like, go with the flow, take it easy. Like, even the restaurants, because the place where we stayed, it was beautiful because we could just walk right upstairs, and they had these array of restaurants we can go to. And you would think, like just thinking like if you're in New York or anywhere else, that these are like competitive places that are against each other. But no, they were like going into each other's restaurants like it was no competition. They were just like, man, life is, keep it simple and it's much easier, And so I just really, that's one of the things that really stood out to me, and clearly is still hitting home, So I was like, you know what, maybe in our relationships it's the same way too, right? Like the more simple we can keep it, the better we can have our experiences within it, So that's what I'm thinking. But let me say hi to some new people in here. Hey, Views of Life, how are you? And Mr. Frank Brown, how are you? I'm always happy when you come in here. I'm always happy. And now because you're in here, I'm going to show that code again because, I don't know if Frank's still in here, but he usually likes to come on and talk because, He might not like to type all the way. So I'm going to show the code again, Frank, because if you want to come and talk to me, I would love to talk to you screen to screen. But it's just a little different because I'm not, you know, on the regular live to where you can usually come on. But there is a code that you can scan that you can come on and talk to me. So I'm going to show that, and I'll probably put the link for you guys too. But tonight, for the new people coming in, what we're talking about is it better to have a mentality of less is more when it comes to improving the quality of our relationships? And the quote that I read tonight was, you don't improve your life by doing more, you improve your life by doing less of what doesn't matter. I'll say it again. You don't improve your life by doing more, you improve your life by doing less of what doesn't matter. All right, and that's what we're talking about. And the question that I threw out for the folks tonight is, name me, tell me, share with me, please, something that you've done less of that have improved the quality of your life, or maybe improved the quality of how you experience your relationships, etc. All right, so that's what we're talking about tonight. I'm going to, again, put the code on for anyone who wants to come on and talk to me screen to screen, okay? Definitely scan that code, and I'm going to try to find the link too, if you guys, to put it in the chat so you can get on that way. Let me see. So scan that to call in. Do, 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 do. Yeah, and for the new folks that came in, yeah, do you agree with the quote? Again, let me know. Maybe you're at a point right now where you're like, okay, I'm noticing I'm doing a lot. Ever heard of doing the most, doing too much, all kind of things. And if you feel like sharing, maybe you can share with me something that you're like, okay, I definitely am realizing I'm going to kind of decrease in this activity or this thing that I'm doing. Hey, Justin, how are you? Thank you for popping in, as always. Well, I will, while you guys are thinking, if you are thinking, to share with me, I will share some things because there were definitely a couple of things that I thought of. And there are two things that really stood out to me. I remember I used to work out maybe like 2 hours, sometimes two. I think at one point when I was booking a lot of shows, and I remember I was going to do certain competitions. I remember I did like this mock, PA type of American Idol, and then I was going on the Apollo and stuff like that. So I remember I wasn't playing. I was working out, okay? And this was before I discovered weight training and things like that. So a lot of it was cardio. A lot of it was running. It was at least for me, the type of working out that can be very exhaustive. And I remember Ben was like, yo, what are you doing? Because I would work out, maybe I would get up and work out for maybe 45 minutes to an hour. And then in the afternoon, I would run for another 45 minutes, I had gotten up to the point where I was running 5 to almost 10 miles. And sometimes I was running 10 miles 3 times in a week. Now, for those who are athletes and endurance runners, that's probably nothing for them. But on the reg, you're not an athlete, you're not training for a marathon. That could be, quite a lot. And don't get me wrong, I felt definitely had a lot of energy, definitely was strong, definitely had the endurance that I needed to sing. And definitely felt like I was in good shape and things like that. And I remember just telling Ben, I was like, and any singer on here, you guys let me know. Or maybe if you're not definitely. If you're doing something, maybe a singer or actor, something that involves you being in the public eye. But particularly as a singer, I just didn't want to have to think about my presentation, my physical presentation, aesthetic presentation, I just wanted to kind of like focus on my voice and not have to think about anything else, you know? And so for me, getting physically fit, of course, would allow for me to have an endurance because I was at that point, like doing my own full concerts at that time, right? And a lot of those concerts would be about 2 hours long. And so, of course, that end, and also if I'm physically fit, I'm not self conscious and things like that. I can just work on my voice. And I mean, I did that for a good long time. And during that same time, I was practicing almost just about almost every day, like about 5 days a week, probably a good 2.5 hours, maybe 3 of those days probably would do about 3 or 4 hours, half a day's of practice and things like that. And, it helped build my voice. But now I think, sustaining that for trying, I think in my mind back then, I was thinking I was just going to sustain that through the whole, years and years and years. And now I'm realizing that it doesn't necessarily take all of that to do that. It really is more so about consistency. Like now, if you are, like someone there's a lot of artists that are on tour right now, like Beyonce's on tour and things like that. So yeah, you would have a regiment to lead up to that if you're going on tour. But if you're trying to sustain that for years and years and years and years, that can be, a little bit overwhelming. So as I matured in it, I realized that me doing, when it comes to exercising, if you're picking the right exercises to hone in on certain areas, I can work out for a good 30 minutes, 45 minutes, hit a certain area, use weights, and still provide the same, if not better, results, right? So that was an area for me where I discovered where less is more in that way, as well as my voice, because sometimes I had to learn the hard way that if I wanted to try to continue to keep that type of, you know, methodology of like practicing, that sometimes I would strain my voice because I would overdo it, right? Overdo it. And there are plenty of times I had to learn the hard way to where I had a show and my voice wasn't in, you know, the best, even though I was practicing so hard, I had over exasperated my voice so that by the time I got to the stage, all this practice I was doing, I could not, right, get, you know, the notes out as clean or as strong as I wanted to because I had already practiced and overextended myself, you know. So definitely those are some areas for sure. And I think when it comes to relationships, I think naturally for me, less is more is something that I kind of lean more into because I was just talking to one of my, really it's Ben's cousin, but he's I absolutely love him. And so he's like one of my favorite cousins of his that is now my cousin. And, you know, he was asking me about the trip and how it was. And he knew that this was like my dream place. And, oh, that's a way we can say it instead of bucket list place. What's your dream place? What is your dream place that you like to go to? That sounds a lot better, right? So anyway, he knew that was my dream place. And I was telling him that after we, you know, finished the vacation and the trip, you know, Ben was like, where to next? Where do you want to go to next? And I'm like, I am so content. I am so satisfied. Like, there is no next to on my list. And I remember his cousin saying, like, man, that's different. You're different. Because somebody come from an amazing trip like that, you know, he's like, a lot of women would be like, okay, now, you know, now I want to go here next and here next and here next. You know, it's like the desire is, you know, still going. And I said, no, I realized that I didn't have this grand list of places that I wanted to go to. The list was simple, and like if I get to experience it, I'm just grateful, and I feel blessed, because not everybody has a dream place that they want to go to that they get to go to. So I said, I'm really content. I don't. There's no next on my list. At least right now, I'm still processing, the fact of me being able to literally step foot on, in the country, on the ground, experience the culture, take everything in, and extract whatever lessons I can get from it to serve me. So I realized in that area, keeping it simple worked really well for me, because it's like I didn't have all of these strong desires. And I think because I didn't, it afforded, I always say it this way. I usually say it in this context that the one of the best ways or best reasons to not have expectations in relationships is so that God can go beyond your expectations. And I think that's the best way I can kind of explain it when it comes to keeping a simple type of mindset in my relationship, is that I feel like because I haven't had all of these desires, and I'm not trying to, you know, tell Ben I want to do this and that and this and that, that the things that I feel like he tries to give me everything because I don't really ask for a lot, and though the things that I do get to experience and that he does gifts to me is very meaningful, because it's not like this just, if you, I don't know if you've ever heard of this, or I'm thinking of, I think one of the best ways to explain this is, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and you see all the different kids, as they're going through and they're trying to figure out who's going to get the golden ticket. And then you have like these I don't want to say rotten kids, but listen, they had a lot of negative characteristics, whether it was greed and things like that. And I'm thinking of the one who was very greedy. Like it didn't matter. You just wanted to consume, consume, consume. And I think it can get like that, when you feel like you have to add more and more and more and more. And then it's like it just never is enough. You're never satisfied because the desire just constantly is just there, I think that's another reason why this quote that I presented tonight is so true, because you focus on the essential things and the most pertinent things, and you have such at least in my experience, a great fulfillment when you hit those things, or you experience those things in life, that all of the other things just become like icing on the cake, for me, and so I completely agree. But those are some of the things that I thought of immediately when I thought of things that where I had to assess in certain areas of my life. Okay, what can I do of less of that doesn't really matter? And I might think that I'm doing, because I think in my mind, giving those examples that I gave to you in the past, I thought the length of time, right, is what would make me feel like, yeah, I'm really doing this thing, like I done practiced for like a good 4 hours today. I done, exercise for a good 2.5 hours. And it's just really not true. Sometimes you can hone in on something and target something, and make incremental small changes that afford you to honor those changes that you're making in time, rather than trying to make this, you know, big, grandiose, change. And I think sometimes when I know in the past for me, and sometimes I still have to like, reel myself back in, because I can tend to focus and really go hard when I want to complete a goal or fulfill a task. And there's good and pros and cons to that. And I think one of the cons to it is that you, at least for, let me not say you, what I've seen me do in the past is try to like knock out maybe a big chunk of a grand goal. And then when you're not, when you don't hit it in the way or hit the target in the way that you feel like you should, then it can bring about, a lot of unnecessary disappointment. Whereas if you're like just chipping at it little by little, it's easier to one see the progression and honor the moments, the little milestones that you make on the way. And it's, I think, easier to kind of keep the consistent mindset of less is more, or keep it simple, keep it simple but rich. That's one of the things that I took away from going to Greece. Like, keep it simple but yet enriching still, and here's the thing, right? I think about in life, I know in my book, Seven Stages of Love and Relationships, I write in one of the chapters that, relationships, marriage especially, right, is like this miraculous experience. I just was talking to my daughter's dance instructor, and I just saw her in the grocery store. Like, I always see her there. We always see each other here, is what we said. And she was talking to me because they have their dance recital coming up, and this is her 25th year, And so I was just talking to her like, wow, what an accomplishment. I always tell her that I admire her because she has three daughters. She has a husband. I've seen her do this business for many years. And she just, she's serving the community, giving a place and creating environment and space for kids to be expressive and creative and things like that. So she's doing so much. So I admire her in that way as, a woman, a businesswoman, a wife, mother, etc. And I was asking her, I said, wow, you're at 25 years now. Is it like by default? Like, is this automatic now, or do you still get like, the butterflies and things like that? And she says, as far as the creative side of it, yeah, I still get the butterflies. I still get like, oh gosh, this production. But of course, there are certain things, structure-wise, business-wise, that are, she has the rhythm of it and things like that. But what one of the things that she said that stood out to me was just, looking back at it. That all of the things, changes and challenges, and that she's went through and withstood, and still able to keep her business going and evolving. And we were talking about COVID, and all of us know with the lockdown, especially if you were a business person or entrepreneur, that wasn't an essential business, right? That wouldn't be locked down. I told her it was amazing that you were able to be innovative and still, endure and survive through that, and then and eventually get back on your feet and thrive still. But through the, not but and within the conversation, I think one of the things that we, kind of both agreed upon is that, you know, all of the positions that you hold, especially like as a woman, as a mother, wife, and things like that. I told her one of the things that I actually shared with my participants yesterday in our Forever Friends Academy session. Someone had asked me a question about, motherhood, and how do I keep my mental health, my mental sanity, and my peace, and do it in a way where it just seems like you're able to kind of navigate it in a healthy way. And the same thing, same kind of conversation I had with my daughter's dance instructor is the same statement that I made on our coaching session. I said one of the things that really helped me is just staying creative, is doing something that I'm passionate about, that I love, or that I'm called to do. It really has helped, and I say all that to say, and she agreed with me. She said through it all, right? She's able to create these recitals and these dances every year, and even though life is just hitting you with different unpredictable things, and of course blows, right? Like losing loved ones, and just, all kind of things that life throws at us. The consistency of just being able to dance, just being able to be creative. It seems so simple, and it seems not to be an essential thing, but it really is. So I think for me, when it comes to this quote, it's just a reminder of the things that we don't necessarily regard to be miraculous or regard to be something as essential. Because in this life, especially depending on where you live and the culture, the reigning culture of the moment, if we're focused on tangible things like or status or how much money you make, and those things are what is deemed to be the most essential or most important, then the things that we call little are really the most essential things, right? The fact that like you have breath in your body to be able to move, the fact that your heart beats, without you necessarily controlling it, right? All of those things, like waking up and having being in good health or sound mind, or the things that are like our creativity. I always love when Justin comes on here because he usually tells me he's in the lab. Maybe he's working on music while trying to kind of listen to me and the episode at the same time. And I love it because it just is a constant reminder to me, like, okay, Sharla, yeah, keep creating, keep getting in the lab. Those things are important because those things are what help us get through sometimes some of the darker moments in life or some of the more heavier moments in life. And these are things that, right, like, as far as like educational institutions, those are the first things that go, right? Like music, art, all of the creative things, because they don't deem it to be that essential. But I think certain things like that, they are. And one of the things I told the instructor when I was talking to her is that I feel like, we are created to create. So it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a dance routine, whether it's a song for me, or whether for someone who's entrenched and passionate about art. I have Maya's husband, he does woodwork and things like that. Just creating it, I found that it has the ability, because you are creating something and bringing something to life, right? Bringing some kind of idea that you had and bringing it into life. And especially if that thing that you've created now can serve others and impact other lives. It's I don't know if there are many things that are equally rewarding, in that way. So those are some of the things that I think of, and I'm definitely going to keep this quote very close to my heart, and hopefully keep the mentality that I receive from the people in Greece, because I think it is important, to focus on the things that really do matter, that really do add meaning and fulfillment to our life, that really enrich the experience that we have here. And, as I like to say, hopefully it inscribe those things on our souls, so that when other things in life happen and challenges and storms of life come, we can go back to those things, and kind of anchor ourselves in them, so that we're not so, uprooted by life situations and circumstances. So that's definitely some of the things that I thought of. I'm trying to think of if there was anything else. I think I also thought about possibly, not even possibly, definitely, because we just had our Forever Friends Academy group session, and that question came to me about motherhood and things like that. And, what are some ways to cultivate your mental health when it comes to entering into motherhood, and definitely having a mentality of less is more there definitely helps. I know for me, one of the things that I did was I had to kind of like challenge myself and kind of like fight within myself to not have this ideology of what it would look like to be a good mom or to have a perfect household and things like dropping all of that and just kind of taking it day by day, right? Like using whatever energy that I have to do, and create an environment in my household in the best way that I can. So that definitely helped. And I think that also is a way of, you know, keeping the mentality of less is more, not that you have to have all of these things in perfect condition or in a certain way to deem yourself to be a good mother or or a good wife, um, so yeah, some of those things definitely, but I completely agree. There's nowhere that I kind of try to look, in areas of my life where that principle did not apply to where it could improve the quality of my life. So, so yeah, so that's all I wanted to present to you guys tonight. I said I am not gonna try to keep y'all on here long or keep myself on here long. I think I just wanted to bring that up because I was literally fresh off of my vacation, and that is the things that stood out to me, and try to take it back here into America with me so that I can, keep going in that way. I think of another one too before I get off here, just in case I'll give time, just in case anybody's thinking of it. Definitely for me, and I'm still working on this because I'm a writer first, and I don't know if anybody on here is a writer first, but I can, Lord knows I can be wordy. I can be wordy in songs. Anybody has listened to some of my songs know that I can be wordy. So I'm still learning that skill, but definitely that's another area where less is more applies. And I definitely have witnessed and seen, and just me in certain songs that I really do like, where, putting the rest in the music, right? For the person to experience and get entrenched in the music and, have the storytelling or the message that you have in the song, giving them moments to process it. So that is definitely another area that I just thought about before I got off with you guys, where that definitely applies, to improve the quality of the song. So I'm still learning that because I do. I realize that as a writer, I tend to lean more towards the wordy wordiness and wordy end of things. So I'm learning to kind of like intentionally put rest at certain areas so that the people can kind of experience the music, and also experience and reflect on the story that you're laying out. So that definitely is another area for me that I definitely thought of before I got off on you guys. So definitely, if you are checking out the replay, definitely flood my feed and let me know. Again, do you, agree with the quote that we put out for tonight? I'll read it one more time because we're about to get off, just so you can kind of reflect on it through the night if you wish. The quote is, "You don't improve your life by doing more. You improve your life by doing less of what doesn't matter." And I think that's worth saying again. You don't improve your life by doing more. You improve your life by doing less of what doesn't matter. And flood my feed with the areas that you can reflect on where you said, you know what? I'm going to do less of this. It's not that necessary, and because you are able to kind of like do less of that thing. Of course, the beautiful part of it is that it frees up, right? It frees up your energy, the investment of your time, your energy, your faith, right? To be directed in areas that will have a greater impact, will serve you more, and things like that. And I think that's one of the best fruits, that you get from having the type of less is more mindset, or keeping it simple mindset, is that it's really a skill. It really is, now that I think of it. And definitely, most of you guys know that I received my project management certificate. And that's definitely one of the things that I have been taking away and have learned, is the art and skill of really honing in on what really does truly essentially matter, and what is something that you can target that will be a core element, of a project, or, of something that you're building, and do that and keep it simple in that way. And you realize how much of either a foundation it builds to have a compound effect of building upon it, and getting the best results, or structuring the best process through it all. So yeah. But I'm gonna get off with you guys. Definitely flood my feed. Let me know what are the things that you did less of, decided to do less of, what didn't matter or doesn't matter, and how did it improve your relationship, your life, your productivity, etc. All right. But as always, I'm happy to be back on with you guys again. And I will be back, God willing, on Sunday with possibly a new topic. Or if I get some extra inspiration, maybe part 2 of this. We'll see how it goes. We're going to go with the flow, like the Greek do. All right. But absolutely, as always, absolutely love you guys. As I always say, you could be anywhere, but you chose to be with me. So whether you took a minute or you stayed with me through the whole episode, I appreciate you guys. And if you heard anything, if you're new to the show, you liked anything you heard, always subscribe, like, comment, and share. Most importantly, if you feel like this content is inspiring, or anyone can, you know, learn from it and apply it to their relationships. All right. So until next time, guys, always remember to live to love freely, and good night. Bye.